The countdown 8 to the broken world. Other parts down below. My WW, to my knowledge, knows nothing of the sale. Only my family and the new owners. I read the letter after a long telephone call with WW. It's been on my mind and I sent her a text Wednesday and asked her to call me later that evening so we could talk. After talking to her, I read the letter right there in a hotel room. I have been carrying it with me on my trips. I'm going to post some of it. I have edited some of the personal identifying things and reworded it some to make it read better after those edits. I began to realize that I was jealous of the passion you had for your new business. I watched all your planning. The long nights you and your brother spent going over concepts, plans, etc. You would come to bed in the early morning hours and be up bright early still excited. I was not jealous of the work you were putting into your dream or the time you spent on it. I was jealous you had such passion for that dream. And I didn't. I have never experienced that type of emotion over a career or anything else. I'm not talking about the passion I feel for you and always have. I'm talking about the passion you had to achieve that goal. It was inspiring and at the same time I was jealous. I had settled as a counselor at a local school instead of going forward with my dream to become a psychiatrist. Somewhere I lost that desire and drive for my dream and it affected me. I became depressed. I felt as though there was something wrong with me. And instead of talking to you or someone that would have my best interest at heart, I talked to Gina. She celebrated my misery with me. There was no attempt to help, just constant reaffirmation of the unfairness of life. And then just like that it turned from my failure to follow through to my thinking you thought less of me. That turned into anger at the thought of you believing you were better than me. And Gina was there all the time playing cheerleader as you called her, validating those ridiculous thoughts I was having. It was a horrible way for me to deal with my issues. And all of a sudden someone was complimenting me. I was flattered. Then there was flirting and I was enjoying it. And then the first kiss. It was as though it had a life of its own. By continuing to confide in Gina and not shutting down AP, I created the perfect storm that destroyed my marriage. I made a series of choices I should never have made. And I destroyed our marriage. But I definitely should have confessed. That I know for certain now. By continuing the lying after it was over, I was continuing the affair. I realize that now. You were a great husband. I know you will be a great father. I look forward to our lives as parents to this precious little boy. And I know that you will navigate the unknown future we face far better than anyone else I know. I vow to follow your lead, and if we cannot be husband and wife, I know we can be mother and father. Together or apart, I know no matter how stupid I've been or how terrible I have treated you these past 18 months, you will always have my best interest at heart. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'll attempt over the coming months, years to become a better person. And eventually a better spouse. I'll always hold out hope that we will find a way back to each other, but if not, I am grateful for the time we had. I love you and I regret every decision I made that destroyed our marriage. I'm really not sure how I feel. I definitely am happy she is working on her issues. But I'm also still looking at it as her trying to manipulate me. But the letter coupled with the telephone conversation makes me think she is not manipulating me. Anyway, I posted it to get other reactions, and as usual I will think on it along with the advice here and come to some conclusion. I know we both are discussing the possibility of her moving to my house in the days leading up to her delivery date, which I feel is doable now since I have a better handle on my anger and she has made progress in her therapy. I know there will be objections to this, but there are a number of logistical issues this solved when she goes into labor. And keep in mind, we only discussed that and nothing is said as of now. Afterwards, probably a combination of me staying with her at her mother's home and visiting frequently. I am in a unique position now to not have to work for an extended period of time. It's possible I can take off for the first 6 months. Actually, I definitely can, but again I'm not sure. She is also aware I am not interested in her. I can only reaffirm that so many times. She will accept it or not. First, the moving back and around her due date is a discussion we had. No decision has been made and it would still need a lot of thought before making any decision. I'm not shutting the door on it completely. I have my reasons for that, but obviously there are major pitfalls with it. I'm not inclined to go too deep and harsh into her reasoning in the letter. Yet, I asked the question about what to do with it only because I felt like it was still a work in progress. When she gave it to me, she stated that it was some things she need to say, but she also said it was not imperative I read it but asked that I just take it. Our phone conversation was me asking more in-depth questions about her therapy, which BTW the reason for the letter was an exercise given to her by her therapist. I don't like being in the position of defending her. She has completely destroyed my life the past 18 months, but I know there has been some significant changes in her in the past month. Obviously not enough to give her a second chance or for me to even forgive her on any level. But I do see some progress. I don't see the letter as her reasons for cheating, but maybe more as a look into her mindset or what thought process worked its way through her brain. Almost like a person going through a midlife crisis, doing things out of the norm and making decisions based on emotions. One thing that she did say that I thought really showed some maturity in her healing was the fact that by lying and not admitting to the affair, she essentially continued the affair. I never thought about that before, and she's correct. I don't know who she is confiding in by way of friends these days. I have no idea if she is seeing anyone or not, though she feels the need to tell me she isn't every time we speak. We do have mutual friends and she has a best friend that lives out of state. I guess she is talking to her. I trust this lady, and if WW is confiding in her, then she's got a really good friend that cares about her and won't mislead her. Gina has been out of the picture for a long time, so no worries there. I'm in within 10 minutes of the hospital. She is almost 45 where she is based on traffic. Plus, I really want to make sure I am there. As I have said, I want to experience this as normal as possible since it's my first time. If not for the pregnancy, I would already be divorced and well along the path of single life. My ability to navigate this is not a talent that I take credit for. It's my support system. My parents from the beginning, with the exception of shock and knee-jerk anger, have counseled patience and, well, more patience. My father has always been slow to anger and my mother has always been a glass-half-full person. So, they have been the foundation of my support. My siblings have been good not to be too critical of WW also. It's been tremendous. No BS sessions about the WW, etc. And I want to stress I'm not necessarily sitting at home and obsessing over this either. I have an active social life. Not a very active one, but I'm doing okay. I have a number of ladies that have shown interest. I'm not looking for anything from them, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't flattered and interested in a couple also. I don't discuss my current situation with them, but if they ask, I explain I'm currently separated and have a child on the way. You would think they would run away screaming, but nope. A few continue to call and chat, but I'm just not interested in anything one-on-one right now. I see them mostly in group settings, but all of this still weighs heavily on my mind. It's the reason I'm in a motel room posting on the internet at 3 in the morning. I still have trouble sleeping most nights, so no matter how well it seems I'm handling it, well, I'm not really. Has anyone else noticed something missing from her letter? There's no mention of her thinking I was having an affair. You know, the travel agent. I noticed it today when I was reading some of the responses and I went back and checked the original letter. Not one word about the travel agent. She claimed it was one of the reasons she cheated, but then later found out it was for a gift for her. This bothers me. For some reason, due to the legal separation, it should be safe but will impact child support to a degree. Nothing unrealistic unless she begins an all-out assault using the court. And that would be mostly legal fees. As it stands, legal fees are paid. Unless things go bad and I use more hours than normal for this type of thing, then I'll need to pay the lawyer additional fees. Mediation would be the best route. The thing is, adultery is a reason to divorce in my state. It does not affect child support, but it can affect asset division. I'm hoping a combination of her continued contrition and the horror of years later our son finding out we divorced because of her infidelity through public records will encourage mediation. I have no problem being fair, but I'm not about to put up with her having a temper tantrum and deciding to go nuclear. And at this point she's not indicating she will, but then again, I never thought she would cheat. Edit, I want to clarify she will get a percentage, but a small percentage compared to what she would have received prior to legal separation. I have proof first contact about the sale took place after the legal separation was filed and accepted by the court. She will most likely get around a 20% cut, which I have made sure to set aside. That's just the lawyer's opinion. I have no idea how she came to that percentage. It does matter to me that she is not hurt any more than she hurt herself, although it was through her own actions. While I'm still angry at times, I see no good in being bitter or vindictive. I am getting better every day when it comes to that. But understand, I cannot cut her off completely on an emotional level at this point. She's pregnant. I go to the doctor with her. We are buying things for the baby together. I can't attach completely yet, but I am handling it for right now. No contact except for the above that takes place on doctor visit days has been maintained about 90% of the time. Either I broke no contact or she did for legitimate reasons. I am following my lawyer's advice. She has stated that any documented cooperation with WW will be helpful in the custody hearing. And yes, that is the one and only driving force in any decision I make regarding her or living accommodations. On a side note, I know now what everyone was saying about pregnant wives. The physical attraction has gone up tremendously. I know it's been a while, but still I must say her being pregnant has made her even more physically attractive. Not enough for me to overcome my aversions to her touching me physically, but damn, that's all I'll say. I might as well let everyone know that I suggested she speak to her therapist about moving back into my home the weekend after Thanksgiving. We have had this discussion and obviously she is all for it, but I have been on the fence. But if she runs it by her therapist and we can work out some ground rules, it will probably happen. The rough draft is her moving into her own room that weekend. She will stay in that room leading up to delivery. When she is released, I'll move her into the master bedroom where there is a bathroom. It's also closer to the room that is set up for the nursery at my house. I will stay in the spare bedroom. I plan on her staying 10 weeks. During that time, we will both have the opportunity to bond with the baby and share in the responsibilities. Obviously, there are many things to discuss before the final decision, not the least of which is running all this by my attorney to ensure it does not affect me in any way on the legal side of things. Not to mention we need to have serious conversations about expectations. And the big elephant in the room, of course, is bonding. I'm not really physically attracted to her any longer, but it's been a while, and I'm not stupid nor a monk. I fully expect bonding in some form to happen, and we need to get out in front of that before she moves back in. It's possible I might not be able to get past the mind movies, but it still needs to be addressed up front. And hey, she might not be interested in it either. Who knows? I also have some other news. I have found some property outside of our city, and I am currently in negotiations to buy it. 200 acres with 2 ponds and about 50 acres of hay fields. It's far enough out to be priced well and close enough to still be convenient to the city. I plan on eventually building a home on the property. And yes, OBS is handling the deal. I asked her to start looking for me some property right after we got a solid offer for the company. It's exactly what I want. The current setup is I live in an older neighborhood just minutes from downtown. She is staying further out in a suburb. I'll actually be only about 30 minutes from her if she continues to live with her mom for a while. The school system here is not bad, but private school is now an option, and honestly would afford more academic choices. Either way, the school she would be zoned for would be a great place for him to attend. If he was to attend the school in my area, it would actually be in a small town with K-12 on one campus. Again, another good option. I'd actually be living in another county. I have a number of options, but I'll definitely be thinking further on this. While it's a little early, it wouldn't hurt to at least set up a plan. As for her moving on to the property, right now, no, I'm not looking at that as an option. I know actions appear to say otherwise, but I'm still not interested in reconciliation, and that would be too much for me to deal with. I'm just trying to get into the best position to enjoy the first few weeks of his life, and after that work towards somewhat of a new normal surrounding him. I want to remind everyone I appreciate your responses, and I know I come across as having it all together, but I'm still really conflicted about all of this, and I'm literally scared to death this will blow up in my face, not to mention the bouts of extreme sadness I still get, which is better than the anger but not by much. I have struggled with this decision and still do, but I want to so badly experience this event firsthand. Being cheated on is like being tortured and loving the torturer. Our minds are just not meant to process this. Quick update. We spoke Tuesday evening and it went well. We have another phone call scheduled tonight, just to address the bonding discussion really quick. It's not about the bonding but about the repercussions if it happens. I'm of the opinion it would be highly likely that some sort of physical activity could take place simply because we both have always had a healthy drive. And honestly, her being pregnant is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. That's just a fact. With that said, I have no idea if I could or if she would. Or the other way around. Get me? I'm just trying to head off any potential issues by addressing them up front. And yeah, she should move directly into the master bedroom. Sometimes I overthink and overanalyze and don't see the obvious. I'm thinking of suggesting a trial run this weekend. Just let her come over Friday evening and stay until Sunday evening. See how it goes. We need to look into making sure the nursery here is up to the baby's needs when he gets here. We can always cut it short if it gets too difficult. We'll see. I know I'm entering a very rough time here personally, and it's going to be very difficult. But the payoff is huge if we can navigate the next few months. My family is supportive of this but cautious as well. My mother is still afraid of the pain it may cause me, but my father has simply told me he understands what I'm trying to do and make sure I keep my eyes open and stay aware of how things got this way. We have 3 names picked out, but no decision on which one yet. What am I looking forward to the most? Him just being here, safe, healthy, and here. I'm going dark for the next few days. I'm obviously stressed and lashing out, whether it was deserved or not. She's due here within the hour and we have some things planned that need to be dealt with immediately, and after that we will just try to make it through the weekend as best as possible. The house, actually I signed all papers today. It's officially mine. The contractor and his designer met me out there this past Saturday. I'll have preliminary plans the house in about 2 weeks, based on plans I already have. Site prep can begin as soon as any the first week of December. I'll have December, January, and February to deal with utilities. I need to run power, water, phone, etc. Then construction can start at any time after the utilities are dealt with. So realistically, depending on weather, I can start in February. Should not take more than 4 months even with weather delays. I can be in the house in June of next year. Contrast that with her moving in Thanksgiving weekend, and assuming the baby arrives on time, she will be here with the baby until close to the end of February or 1st of March. Of course, a lot can happen until then. Weekend update. I'll just go through the timeline and leave it at that for right now. Friday. A little awkward. Neither of us took an account to have anything planned because we had some things to take care of immediately upon her arrival. So, we spent Friday evening having awkward small talk and eventually calling it a night early. Saturday. I already had plans to meet up at the property, so I left after my workout and breakfast. She mentioned she had some work to do online and that she was going to rest. Her back was hurting her and her feet are swollen. I got back early afternoon and she had company. My mother and sisters came by to help her get her stuff set up in her bedroom and the nursery. My father joined us later and I grilled us some steak and vegetables and we all kind of just visited. After everyone left is when we had what I'll call our only hiccup. She broke down and went into the bedroom and stayed about an hour. I did check on her, but for the most part I left her alone. I'm not feeling too obligated to deal with her feelings, if you know what I mean. She came out and sat down and apologized. Same stuff. She is mortified that she did this, and the fact everyone is treating her so nice makes her feel even worse about what she did. But she was quick to express her gratitude. I didn't respond much but did sit and listen to her. She spoke at length about therapy and learning more and more about herself. Again, I'm not being rude and ignoring her, but I'm not engaging. She eventually told me she appreciates what I'm doing and realizes how hard it must be having her here. She then asked if it was okay if she went to church Sunday morning with me. That's when I perked up. I struggled on that one. I do not want to keep her from going, but I definitely do not want to send the message that we are back together again to my church family or to her. My faith is a very personal thing to me, so I was hesitant. I told her I would think about it and let her know in the morning. I got us off the emotional talk and asked her about work, and eventually we watched a movie and called it a night. Sunday, I told her she could go, but I reminded her again that we are not we and that I want her clear on that. She understood and offered to stay home. I told her it was up to her and she chose to go. My sisters immediately met us in the parking lot and took WW by the arm, kept her occupied the rest of the morning. And by occupied, I mean away from me. Even sat on either side of her during service. We went home, had lunch together, discussed the weekend and whether or not this was going to work. She suggested she talk to her therapist first and that she would call me on our regularly scheduled Tuesday evening call and let me know. But she felt like it went as well as it could, and I agreed. So, no emotional outbursts for the most part. No wild bonding. No screaming or yelling at each other. Granted, it was one weekend and to his point she's not there 24/7, but it could have gone worse. I'm seeing a clear future that involves her only on the periphery. Maybe a little more than that, but you get what I mean. While I don't see anyone in the near future to have this journey with me on an intimate level, I'm feeling as though I have a path with my son and myself, and that's all that matters. I'm also willing to admit this feeling is whimsical right now, based on the relatively good success from this past weekend. I am aware that I have chosen a different path, but it's a path that I see as less contentious than any other at this point. I have repeatedly told her I am not going to R if she thinks there is a possibility, and it keeps her happy until our first custody hearing, then so be it. If it doesn't, then what I have lost. I'm stressed about her being here, it's painful, and I want to move on but can't right now. Why? Because it's worth it if I can see my firstborn child being born. If I can hold him right after he takes his first breath. Spend those times of the first few days, weeks bonding. The alternative, sitting here waiting for the phone to ring so someone, anyone, can tell me he was born. If he is okay. And eventually some stranger will make room for me on his calendar so I can go and beg to see my child. I'll do what I'm doing right now every day of the year. I do nothing without my attorneys say so. The child is not a legal entity right now. We are legally separated, but even so she has full autonomy over her body. Also, she is under no obligation to give me visitation. That goes for any child of any age until a custody hearing is had. So yes, any parent that decides to keep their kid away from the other parent can do so and not allow any visitation until a hearing. It works way though. One more thing. The presumption that I will just kick her out in a few months or weeks really surprised me. I would hope that I have exhibited a little more empathy than that. Let's just say that I have plans that no one here knows about. Except for one other, I have had the good fortune of getting really good one-on-one advice. How these plans play out depends entirely on how she and I work together over the coming weeks. She is not being sent out into the cold. She's the mother of my child. Within reason, I will do whatever it takes to help her if she is willing to. 1. Be an adult about our divorce. 2. Be the best co-parent she can be. 3. Show that she is helping herself in therapy. I don't see that as unreasonable nor kicking her in any way. Update. My son was born early Monday morning via C-section. Her blood pressure levels plus the baby showing signs of distress, not in cord, prompted the C-section. Both are fine and I am already exhausted. 8 pounds, 21 inches long. I can't even put it into words. We are home and yes, it's been great, and yes, I'm running on very little sleep. He's really awesome. As I said before, I can't put it into words the feelings I have for him. Both of our families, he has been great and really helpful. WW is doing well. I have had quite the eye-opening experience when it comes to a C-section. After months of preparing for a vaginal delivery, it was something else altogether to watch the doctor perform the procedure. She's recuperating well and home. It's a strange dynamic to be in the situation we are in and spend so much time attending to her needs. I just keep reminding myself she is my son's mother and I'm doing it for him. She's been happier than I've seen her in a long time and I'm glad for her. Oh, sent a gift, but I chose not to give WW the card even though it was nice. I just don't think now is the time to introduce anything that might be upsetting. I'll give it a week or two and give it to her. I think our interactions on the outside are looking pretty normal, and as though we are happily married, which of course bothers me. But right now, I just need to be a father and as much as a husband as I can to her. I've really chosen a hard path, but if I didn't think it would be worth it in the end, I wouldn't be doing it. Baby boy is pretty set on a 4-hour schedule right now, a little longer at night. WW and I have been able to pretty much handle it without any issues. No major issues between us. The close proximity has been playing on my nerves at times, but to her credit she's adhering to our rules. We're in this weird world of not husband and wife but more than roommates. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's working. At least for now. He's just over 2 weeks old and has a house full of presents. Little dude is not wanting for anything, that's for sure. As for WW wife and myself, well, it has been difficult. And I did falter big time a couple of days ago and there was some physical contact. Job that was one-sided. I was immediately angry with myself and her. I made myself as scarce as possible for a couple of days, and thankfully her therapy started back last week and she spoke to her therapist and she was able to help WW realize why it was a bad idea and why I was angry. WW and I discussed it and we both hopefully are on the same page again. I am just as much to blame as she, may be even more to blame. Hopefully it won't be an issue moving forward. A quick public thanks for those that assisted privately when I began to have a huge panic that I had messed up beyond repair. My new home is progressing, or at least the process to begin building has. I have a contractor and we have completed the driveway and done some site prep for the construction. Just to clarify, I really thought I had destroyed everything I had worked on up to this point. I absolutely saw this massive explosion of lawyers arguing, court dates for years to come, months without seeing my son during custody disputes, etc. But in the end, after realizing there was nothing I could do but sit back and let the fallout occur, the massive explosion of issues did not occur. Why? She wants me to meet with her and her therapist. This is an attempt to prove to me she is capable of understanding the damage and show me her progress. It's possible I might do this just to make sure she is being honest to her therapist. I believe she is, but if given the opportunity, why not? Plus, I think it would be good to do this close to or immediately after our permanent separation. She has instigated a conversation on 2 separate occasions that center around a plan for our separation. How it should look, possible time frame, rules, etc. After the second time I shut her down and explained nicely that she has no say in my life moving forward, just as I don't have any in hers. This sounds like it was more combative than it was in real life. And she was not pushy or anything, just moving into an area that is none of her business. It was really just a definitive statement to her casual talking about our pending divorce. Seriously, it was not pushy on her end nor mean on mine. Just a no-go area for me. And trying to relay there was no arguing or anything. She is crying more. Reality is setting in and thankfully it has not turned to anger yet. I think she knows me well enough that anger towards me would burn what little connection we have outside of our son. I'm not sure what more I can share with her other than we are divorcing. It is not like it's been a secret. Now, if you are referring to details like the possibility of allowing her to have the house after my new home is built, no, I'm not going to bribe her for good behavior. Reward her to help my son if she acts mature about this. Yes, tell her if she acts this way, she gets this. No, any meeting with her counselor is probably classified as more of morbid curiosity than anything. I am certain she knows she has messed up. I definitely know she is aware of what her actions have cost her. But I am curious just how honest with herself and her therapist she has been. I still don't feel she is there, and well, if you know then you know. When I say that, I still sense too much manipulation, but I'm willing to admit that it might just be me. She's been good, really good. No overt or even covert physical games. She's concentrating on our son and continuing her bonding with him. We have settled into a routine this week of eating together with him when it falls at our mealtime, sharing the load when we are both here. I'm increasing my physical detachment starting this weekend by staying gone for a 24-hour period from Friday evening to Saturday evening. She promised to do the same from Saturday evening to Sunday evening. We'll see what happens. A small update. I left the house last night at 7 p.m. I spent last evening with 3 friends, doing the whole poker, cigar smoking, listening to 70 seconds rock music thing. It's just something we did when I was dating and first married. It was born out of watching a movie where these guys got together and played poker once a week, and we decided to kick it up by going old school. Don't judge, except I stayed at one of my friend's house overnight. This morning I am at my parents' helping out some, and I do not plan on returning until 6 or 7 tonight. The plan is for her to leave tonight and not come back until tomorrow evening. She texted quite a bit overnight, asking where stuff was, and at one point asking if I could come back. I then told I would not respond to any more texts or phone calls unless it was an emergency. She stopped and I have not heard from her since about 1 a.m. The point of this is to get us used to being away from the baby and being more independent and caring for him. It's not to punish her, even though I believe it's what she thinks. Final word on the house. She is responsible for acquiring, arranging her own lodging moving forward. She only has to have a place to stay every other week right now, or when we start the rotation I should say. I do not have an issue with helping her for the good of my son, but I will not enable her to use him as an excuse to not take responsibility. Not that she has indicated she would do that, I'm just saying I have boundaries in that area if she approaches them or crosses them. She is an adult and has a pretty good head on her shoulders, so I don't expect her to become that ex. But who knows? The house is just an asset that can be used either to my benefit, our benefit, or her benefit. I'm not legally obligated to use it for her, but I am willing to use it to help her if need be. But only if it benefits my son as well, and only if she continues to see this divorce through with an eye on doing what's best for our child, and not her or us. There is no us as of now. And no, I will not tell her of the possibility I might gift her the house. Now I must admit something that has come up after a long talk with my father this morning. He has been my best source for non-emotional, practical, level-headed advice. Today he asked me to take some time and think what forgiveness looks like, because I admitted I cannot forgive her. His exact words were, "How do you view the other side of this? Once the divorce is over, how do you see your life? What form does forgiveness take? She's the mother of your child, and at some point, forgiveness must take place or it will poison every relationship you have now and in the future." Just to clarify, I'm not rethinking divorce here. I'm saying this list is making it difficult for me to get to a point of forgiveness. If that makes sense, I'm not interested in slowing the divorce down. I need this marriage done. I am inclined to meet with her and her therapist if I can get to a place that I'm not so cynical about the motives. I believe if I go into that meeting with anything other than what's best for her, then I'm contributing to a more adversarial relationship down the road. Therapy is for her to become a better person for herself and our child, so I should be willing to help up to a point and not be a hindrance. The weekend went well. She came back home last evening. It was hard on both of us to be away from him, but it's something we have to get used to in the future. She and I both talked about moving forward with our custody hearing last night. She's obviously not wanting it, but to her credit, she was willing to discuss a possible custody arrangement with a minimum of emotional outbursts. We spoke of her possibly having a discussion with her doctor and therapist about postpartum depression. She is of the opinion right now it's mostly the stress of our situation, and she said, the reality of my destroying our family. Her words. Again, this morning about an hour ago during his feeding, she talked more about what she was feeling in regard to the marriage ending because of her and the impact her actions have made. A lot of introspection appears to be going on, and I don't think this is manipulation. There are no emotional theatrics, just more of a casual discussion. Oddly, I have found these to be the most genuine discussions we have had on the subject to date. Maybe she is moving into acceptance. We'll stay here together tonight and tomorrow, but I plan on leaving Wednesday and Thursday and her Friday and Saturday. Big update. Well, this happened. I was cleaning up the house during my 48-hour solo stay with our son. Completed some laundry for all of us, WW included, and while putting them in her dresser drawer, I ran across one of the photos that I received from the OBS, the one where she is smiling coming out of the motel room. It's been cut down where you just see her face and part of the motel door. Needless to say, I was not expecting that nor happy seeing it. I decided to put it in an envelope with a letter and placed it on her bed. We did our exchange and I just left it for her to find. Within the hour she's phoning and texting. I don't answer the phone, but some of the texts I did read. It's not what you think. Let me explain. Stuff like that. So I sent her a text and told her to take some time, calm down, and write me an email later in the evening explaining why she had it. I told her I don't know when I would read it, but I promised I would at some point when I knew I could be at least in a better frame of mind. She sent a long email and it boils down to this. She knows that his photo is a massive trigger for me, and apologized for having it and has since burned it. She kept it as a physical reminder of the person she does not want to be again. She says there are times she feels sorry for herself and she goes and looks at the pic and it instantly pulls her out of the self-pity. She again stated she now understands why I need to divorce and she won't draw it out. She still hopes at some point we can reconnect and maybe at least try and date to see if a real reconciliation is possible. And she will do whatever it takes to help me heal, and if eventually it means just being co-parents, then she will just have to accept it, even though she does not want to lose us because of her stupidity and selfishness. I will go back tomorrow afternoon. Our schedule got a little messed up due to unforeseen circumstances. I will be with her for 48 hours with the baby and then she will leave for 48 hours, etc. Not sure what, if anything, I should talk to her about concerning this. I have not said anything other than to let her know I read it. I really do not want anything this heavy to come up at this time. We are close to filing for our custody hearing, and hopefully have the hearing no more than a month after the filing. I'm just not interested in any more emotional gymnastics in my life. I'm ready to move forward and end the marriage. Whatever happens after that will happen, but I need this marriage over. But whatever, my note I left her just said, I found this by accident. I'm not sure why you have it, but if you plan on keeping it, please hide it someplace else. I will limit my entry into your bedroom as much as possible in the future and place your items on your bed when I'm cleaning. My comment: of all of my 6 male friends and relatives who have divorced, none were uneventful from start to the bitter end. If the woman promised to go easy on the old boy, her attorney would work her up to a vengeful fury to pump up the billable hours, which the old boy had to pay. So, no downside for the woman or her attorney. Made no difference if she was banging 3 apiece and the attorney to boot, the old boy paid the freight. If OP walks out in 1 piece, I'll be surprised. Next part coming up.